as well. So it looks like this is moving now into the heart of Wichita, with the circulation now just to the southwest of the downtown. And we have actually already told our folks here at KSN to move to shelter. Okay, well, it's again one of those deals where you don't want this to happen, but here's where we stand right now. The hail is just pounding the roof like crazy at this point in time. And again, we're going to watch this. If you're not familiar with exactly where we are, I'll back out of the screen a little bit. There you can see Wichita. Here is 135. Here is 235. This is Metro Wichita. This is the radar site, which sits out southwest. Goddard is just off to the edge of your screen here. And again, you look back to the city of Wichita, downtown. Our studios are about in this area right here, right now. And again, you've got Hayesville down this way. And I also understand, and I do apologize for this, I understand that we have been streaming with our partners on Clear Channel Radio, all of our various stations out there. And I do apologize for not acknowledging that sooner. I do want to welcome those folks in, and thank you very much for streaming along with us here. We also have folks who are on KSN.com who are no doubt watching us right now as this storm bears down on the city of Wichita. You know, JD, in 20 years, I've never said this, but I think it's our time to go.
Dave, man.
I really do. We've been monitoring the conditions here downtown. So at this point, folks, we here at KSN are moving to our shelters. We are moving to our shelters. JD and I will continue to talk with you as long as we can. We're leaving the radar image up, but it appears that it is time for all of us to get to shelter. Get to shelter right now. Ryan Newton. Ryan Newton. Now, Ryan. Now. Everybody down below, let's go.
And again, we're going to watch this as close as we can from our shelters.
The image that we have up may be a little bit less. Let's put our backup up.
Which backup do you want to use? Yeah, that's now. Okay.
We think that this is a little bit better updated image for you. Showing the storm going by the downtown and getting ready to move into East Wichita. Apologize for a little bit of feedback. Yeah. JD and I are actually 4 feet away from the stairs to the basement. Our staff has been relocated down into the basement at KSN. And again, those of you who are in eastern Wichita, we would urge you to be in shelter right now. If you have a house with a basement, get in the basement. Get in the center of the basement. JD, a new image has just come in from NextRad Doppler radar. So if there is anything on the ground at this point, I think it's safe to say it's in the heart of Wichita, moving to the east.
And again, I would hope at this point in time there's nobody who's still outside of shelter right now. I really hope that everybody who is watching is down in their basement right now. I do understand we do have our partners from Clear Channel Radio who hopefully folks may have their radios on and are listening to us as well. Stay hunkered down. If you're in the city of Wichita, stay in your shelter right now. Stay down wherever you are. Again, I want you in that basement underground if that's possible. If you've even got a crawl space. I know my home has a little, we call it a little leprechaun door. It's underneath the stairs, but it's still protected. Again, just get to where you can. The safest place is as close to underground as you possibly can be. And stay there. Just stay there. Big deal, you know. Just get to where you need to be and stay in that shelter in the city of Wichita right now.
JD, we just got an unconfirmed report relayed from the news saying that 119th and 31st we have some pretty heavy damage on the southwest side of town.
Southwest side of town, okay.
So that we can still see and still hopefully be broadcasting with you. And it appears to us as that there still is the possibility of circulation in the central and eastern parts of Wichita. We would pray that wrapped up in as ending, but continue to urge everyone in central and eastern Wichita to remain in shelter. We want you to get to the basement. If you have a basement, get to the lowest level of your home. If you do not have a basement, and make a small room in the center of the house with no windows. Get down into the basement. Have it if you don't. Interior hallway with all the doors closed, bathroom or closet. If you are in a mobile home park in Andover, we would urge you in Andover now to be seriously considering your tornado plans and get ready to move to shelter. East Wichita, we urge all of you in the eastern half of the city of Wichita, certainly from the downtown and the Canal Route area into the eastern part of town, we urge you to remain in shelter for the next few minutes as the storm is continuing to pass by. So we are continuing to remain very close to shelter here at KSN. JD and I are literally 6 steps away from our basement. And as I mentioned, JD, in 20 years, this is the first time I've ever had to myself actually leave our office and move to the shelter location.
That just tells you, what kind of a situation this is and how this is bearing down seriously on the heart of the city of Wichita, largest city in the state, largest city in our coverage area. And we are still, and this is what I mentioned this earlier too, and I'm going to come right out and just say it, we're at the mercy of technology. I mean, we're sitting here watching our radar feed in our master control room, hoping for an update, and we're at the mercy of the system right now, just kind of waiting to see what this does as we make sure we're ready to go to shelter in case something happens here.
Continuing to update the warning situation. JD, that's something obviously folks at home, we are worrying about the most significant storm that we're dealing with. Those of you who are elsewhere in Kansas, I would actually going to tell you that we're not talking about you. It's a good thing. And you should go ahead and plan on quarter to golf ball size hail. You know that tornado warnings are being expanded out ahead of the storm, as you can see on the ticker, and it looks like we can probably, at this point, head back into our work area and pick up our coverage and continue. However, those of you in the central and eastern parts of Wichita, we would urge you to continue to remain in shelter. Central and eastern Wichita, we urge you to remain in shelter. Still an extremely dangerous storm situation coming across East Wichita, and again, we urge you to remain in shelter if you are able to do that. It does appear, JD, that the radar that we are on is probably the best one for us at this point. And this again emphasizes that those of you at home on the east side of town in particular still need to be staying in shelter. And we do know that there have been some other tornado warnings issued for other parts of the KSN viewing area. And we are hoping that all of you are watching the storm ticker and staying abreast of those warnings so that you are ready and able to move to shelter very, very quickly. Kind of backing up through some of the reports that have been received, again, the National Weather Service has told us a number of times that there was damage on the southwest side of town. We have power poles down along I-35, 135th West, and the road is blocked. So obviously those of you who are in southwest Wichita, best to remain in place over the next couple of minutes, because we're not entirely sure how much damage we may be dealing with there on the southwest side of town. Now, JD, as I look, here's one good sign. I do still see electricity across West Wichita, and that's one of the things that we look for to tell us how much wind damage we may be looking at in the downtown area.
And you talked about, too, some of the new warnings issued, and the latest tornado warning that was issued was for Butler, Harvey, and Sedgwick counties until 4:45. The warning statement they put out says capable of producing a tornado in East Wichita and to the east. So the fact they're using capable, that is good. Storm spotters who are out there are seeing wall clouds and some rotation in some areas. But at least at this point, we've not had anything confirmed on the ground since about 20 minutes ago. So again, that is great news in that regard.
I agree. Thanks, JD. Now, again, we, because of our situation here, we have had to switch to our backups. Of course, being in the weather business, we are conscious of how important it is to have multiple streams of information. And so we're looking here at a little bit different look to the map, but this is the latest radar information that we have. Again, as JD mentioned, they're now using the word capable for that tornado. That's good, because in weather service language, in the language that we speak to each other as meteorologists, that indicates that there may be a little bit less of an indication and that something is confirmed on the ground. But remember, we had multiple reports in southwest Wichita, coming up K42, of a large destructive tornado on the ground. It is heavily wrapped up in rain. That is making it very difficult for spotters to know exactly what they're dealing with. But we would urge those of you now in southeastern Harvey, western Butler counties, eastern Sedgwick County to remain in shelter. And as I look at this radar image, I remain most concerned about East Wichita, just to the north of Kellogg, just south of K96. 21st, if I were to pick a street, this still looks like it could be something wrapped up inside it. We could still have something significant going on. So we urge you in East Wichita over toward Benton and Andover to get in shelter and remain there, as we still feel like wrapped up inside all of this, we could still have some significant damage possible. And I'll use the word possible because at this point we are feeling like we have a little bit less of an indication of anything on the ground. JD, I know you've been checking things. What's the update?
Well, just a couple of bits of information here. The sirens are going off in the city of Benton at this point in time. Spotters who are there, they are seeing some wall clouds. I've also been told from our partners at Clear Channel Radio, they now are heading to storm shelters as well. So they're making sure they're in their safety spots. They're kind of on that north to northeast side of town.
Right, exactly where we were just talking about.
Yeah, so there, I know they're moving to their shelters. We are still simulcasting on our Clear Channel Radio partners on all of our stations there, so we thank folks who are listening to us. How much of an update, I apologize for not paying too much attention, how much of an update have we given to folks who may be on the west side of town at this point in time in regard to their shelters?
You know, at this point, I think that's a good question to ask. I myself, if I'm on the backside of Wichita, I'm going to stay in shelter because there may, and oftentimes are, some strong winds on the backside of the storm. So I would stay in shelter in West Wichita just a little bit longer. JD, we now have another update on the radar image showing now that, again, as we just talked about, we warned Benton and Andover, and it does look like the most dangerous part of this storm now is moving from northeast Wichita toward the Sedgwick County line, toward Benton, Towanda, just to the north of Andover. A close call would recommend that Andover be in shelter and stay there if you're there. Benton, Towanda, Whitewater, northwestern Butler County, far southeastern Harvey County, we would urge you to remain in shelter. I think, as JD just mentioned, that the storm is starting to clear the backside of Wichita, the west side, but I would stay in shelter for a few more minutes. Oftentimes there are some strong winds on the backside of that storm. Want you to just stay in shelter for a couple of more minutes. And JD, I don't really even like what I see going on down around McConnell Air Force Base there. It looks like we might have another little bit of a notch.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, and I'm not liking that. I'm watching the reports from the Weather Service. They have not said much. And again, I know it's the situation today, but we've got a lot of folks out there. They've got some 60-mile-an-hour winds being reported in some areas on the north end of the city of Andover. They're getting reports of around 60-mile-an-hour winds and some golf ball hail near the Benton area. Again, golf ball hail near Benton, and I know the sirens are sounding there as well too. And again, this is a little bit different of what we're looking at here. This is a different view than we're normally used to, and this is a different radar view because our other one, we took a bit of a power bump earlier, so we're getting the data back online to that, but still radar is radar, and one of the first things you look at, you see that notch here, and this is the same notch that about 15-20 minutes ago was in the southwest part of the city of Wichita. This is the same notch, the same part of this storm that has a history of producing a tornado. We talked about this a couple of minutes ago. We have some reports coming into our newsroom of damage on the west side of town. As soon as it's safe for our crews to get out and take video of that, we will get that video, and of course we'll have that for you on later newscasts tonight, and of course available as soon as possible on KSN.com. When a situation like this rolls right over Metro Wichita, obviously many of us are still hunkered down, as you should be, and that goes for us too. We're not supermen. We're not immune to this kind of stuff. When this happens, we have to hunker down in our area too and wait for the storm to pass, which is where we feel that we are, at least in the downtown area, at least safe enough to get back in here and do our job. Others who may still be out there, as we've mentioned, you may still get some strong wind gusts and some possible rotation here and there. Again, we got to pay close attention to what's going on in the southeast part of Wichita, and no doubt what's going on between Andover and Benton. Last report was from a spotter who did report a rotating wall cloud in that area. And again, this is the same storm that has a history of producing tornadoes. We've got other confirmed reports out here of some golf ball sized hail. And I know Dave's operating the radar back here for us behind the scenes. What do you got for us, Dave?